Welcome to this week's discussion on blessing or affliction. When something good happens, have you ever heard someone say, or perhaps said it yourself, that is such a blessing? If a person did something nice to you or for you, you may have said that they are a blessing. Have you ever wondered why we only say it is a blessing if the action is perceived as good? If something good happens to us, we say we are blessed, but if something we do not like happens, we call it an affliction, and we do not like afflictions. I believe that sometimes there is very little difference between the two. I would like to share what happened to me many years ago that really blurred my definition of a blessing and an affliction. I had a great job that I really enjoyed going to every day. Some of you may have experienced this before, but this was my first and only time, and I was devastated. I was asked to come into an early meeting on a Friday morning by the vice president of sales. He told me that since I was always in early, it shouldn't be a problem. I was told it had something to do with a project he wanted to talk to me about. I agreed since I always did come in early anyway and was eager to help in any way I could. As scheduled, I walked into the VP's office, and he was sitting there, and so was an HR person. I did not recognize what it meant when the HR person attended a meeting like this, since it was my first time. I listened to some talk about making some changes that were going to take place in the company. I got excited because it sounded like I might get a promotion. I had never been told that I had ever done anything wrong or that my work was not acceptable, so getting fired was not on my radar. They used language like my position was going to be repurposed. What did that mean? I finally started to understand that the HR person was to be my escort and that I could head back home because I did not work there anymore. I had always been active in my parish, but I was kind of just spinning my wheels and not deepening my faith. My wife and I had been very active with teaching children in faith formation and a few other ministries. My first inclination was to pray to God for a job. My wife also worked, so we had some income, but we were 2 weeks before our daughter's wedding, and how was I going to pay for that? I looked for work, but could not find anything. I did some work with a friend when he needed extra help, but I always felt more like a charity case than I was actually contributing. I took what I could get. In the meantime, with the extra time I now had, my wife and I got involved in different ministries in our new parish that helped us both grow more in our faith. I began to realize that God was answering my prayer, even though it was not what I asked for. I wanted a job, but He was giving me what I needed, which was to get closer to Him because I was beginning to drift away. During the 25 months I was out of work, we still got by without incurring any more debt. I changed my prayer to ask that I be able to provide for my family. That might be with a job, or however God chose to allow me to do that. God always answers our prayers, but it is difficult to recognize His answer if we are too stuck on what we think we need. In my case, that was a job. I got back closer to God and found a job that was even better and more satisfying than the one I had lost. What I thought was a terrible affliction in losing my job became a great blessing by bringing me closer to God and also finding a new, great job. This new job required a lot of flying, so I had quite a bit of dead time on a plane. That dead time is what allowed me to write my book, My Catholic Letter. It took me about 15 years to write, and it was this job that gave me the free time to do it while earning a living. There are several lessons to be learned from this experience. Trust that God knows best. Afflictions help you to recognize all the blessings that you might be taking for granted. I had always given thanks to God in prayer, but I had never thanked God that I have a job until I lost my job. Sometimes we must lose a blessing to recognize that it is a blessing. I would like to end with this quote by J. Willard Marriott. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. My wind was my affliction in losing my job, and it made me stronger in many ways. Have a blessed week. If you would like to receive these weekly discussions, please subscribe below. You can also feel free to share any comments.